What if Naruto ate Sukuna's finger? Enjoy watching.
In the land of Kusa once stood a massive structure. One that was heralded as the Blood Prison, a building so imposing that only the most ruthless prisoners the highest of high crime. The place was known for the blood seal they put on people preventing them from using chakra. The prison itself was heavily monitored and controlled, and it was the center of Kusa's now infamous reputation. More so, the actions of the past were centered. Facility. Fear was common when talking about the land and the prison, but for different reasons. The rumors flew that inside the prison was something so evil and heinous that all the other nations had made a pledge that if they ever discovered it in Kusa, forego all fights and arguments to deal with it. Sadly, the item in question was lost over the ages and no one knew of the ancient item's location. Little did anyone know, it was inside of the prison and considered the worst fate a prisoner could face. That was until now. What was once a proud and intimidating tower is now nothing more than rubble. The ruins stained with the blood of all that was inside, and the remains of AS remained on the ground. It was the scene of a horror movie with nothing standing and nothing alive for miles around. People strewed across and even mutilated in such horrific ways you fathom. But there was one lone soul sitting at the top of the rubble. He was just sitting there with a blank expression and looking down at the remains of the dark box. Into pieces and the remains of the warden that he had slaughtered on the spot. He is wearing nothing but an orange jumper bottom and his entire torso was visible to the world. Once was marked with a seal on his stomach, but now gone for the markings that were now all around his body. Each one intricately placed in a way that it led down to his legs. The markings were nothing more than just simple lines and small eye patterns tattooed on the back of his hand. The person had dark blonde hair and his hair was short and spiky. He had blue eyes that were blank with feeling or emotion and just staring at the remains of flinch at the sight of the blood, even though in earlier years he would have, and it would have scared him to see such carnage. But now, he couldn't give two shits about the people that were dead. Naruto Uzumaki, former genin of Konoha and the former container of the Kyuubi. Many would wonder how he ended up in this position and what happened to place almost 6 months ago. Flashback. Naruto had just arrived at the prison in a state of shock. He couldn't believe it. He did everything that the village asked him, he completed his mission, and performed his objective without fail. But yet, he was still punished for his actions. In the midst of the aftermath of Konoha gaining a new Hokage and the village dealing with some newfound enemies in their midst, Naruto had been captured a council. The civilians stated that he violated the laws and stated that his actions against Sasuke was unforgivable and that he wouldn't be allowed to see the light of day. Wanted to execute him. They stated that they were overruled in the end. So, the only option they had was to banish him. Naruto pointed out that they can't do that without the Hokage's approval. That is when one presented a document with the Hokage stamp and signature showing that they can do such without consequences. Naruto felt his whole woe instance, and the civilians taunted him for his failures and the mistakes he made and how his parents would have been ashamed of him for being nothing more. Naruto was so numb, they took the chance and applied a makeshift seal to his body which not only cut off his connection to the fox but also prevented him from chakra, rendering him powerless. This led to him being sent in a convoy out of the village at night and his mind just blank from what had happened. While being carted away he could hear the proudly of his banishment and how they were finally free of him. Naruto was destroyed by this, and arriving at the prison things only got worse. First, he was thrown into a cell where they told him how the blood seal worked and told him of all the work he would have to do to survive in this place and respond he was beaten. Shortly afterwards he ran into another inmate who quickly took the chance to initiate the new member of the prison in how to pay your dues. Naruto still SCR. After this, Naruto over the period of 6 months had to suffer at the hands of the inmates that wanted him as their pillow buddy while others beat him and stole his food. Just a living hell. If that wasn't happening, then it was the guards doing it and making fun of him being nothing more than a stupid 13-year-old idiot. And how ages ago. Over the course of 6 months he just became numb to the pain and didn't bother to fight back or argue and just wanted to endure it until he finally collapsed. At least he could say he didn't give in and he could finally see his parents again. But yesterday, he heard the warden call for him and brought him deep underground where he saw some kind of giant black box with faces on it sitting there. Room. The warden didn't bother explaining what it was or what it did, he just shoved him to the box and he was dragged inside. Inside, Naruto thought he would see death, but that wasn't the case. Instead, his shackles were gone and his pain was gone. His exhaustion had disappeared, and soon he found himself feeling better than he had in quite some time. Gone, and his body seemed to be just back to what it was before the council put the seal on him. Looking around the box he saw nothing but darkness, but soon after taking a step he felt something at his feet and looked and saw that it was water. But he didn't understand. Where did the water come from? It shouldn't be inside of this giant box. Could it? Naruto soon saw the world around him light up. Everything was dark red, but he saw a large pile of bones leading up to what looked like a throne made of bone. Throne was a red-haired man with red eyes and marks on his face. He was resting his face on his knuckles and he looked on with a smile on his face. Well, isn't this interesting? Naruto raised an eyebrow. Who are you? Interesting question, but I would have to say you pose a more interesting question of what you are. The man appeared beside him and touched his stomach where the seal was. When did he dash? Ah, I see, so you have one of the sage's little pets inside of you. Naruto looked at him. What do you mean, the sage? The man frowned. You don't know who I am, do you? Naruto shook his head and the man sighed. Well, it would seem I have faded with the sands of time like all living things. He shrugged his shoulders. Oh well, it is what it is. The man turned from Naru. Back on his throne, sitting on it with his hand back under his head. Now then. The man smiled. I think we should talk. Okay. Naruto looked around. Where are we? Inside the box of eternal bliss. Or as I would like to call it, the box of my eternal damnation. Huh, never heard of it? The man raised an eyebrow. You, how uneducated are you? Naruto gained a tick mark. I didn't have advanced education and was given the base minimum for most of my studies. The only thing I know how to do is train and use chakra. The man snorted. That's funny because your control is shit. Naruto frowned. Tell me something I don't know. By the way, how the fuck am I not covered in those seals? The man just waved his hand with one eye closed with a bored expression. Oh, that, well, it was quite simple really. I just willed them away. Willed them? How does that work? Young one, he yawned, when you get to be my age and spend eternity trapped in a box made for controlling you, you learn a thing or two over the ages. Around. Sadly, the only thing I never figured out was how to escape this stupid box as it is tethered to my dark chakra. Dark chakra, what's that? The man's eyes widened. Wait, you never heard of dark chakra? He appeared in front of him. Hold still. The man grabbed Naruto by his forehead and he felt a burning sensation race. The man in question held him in place for a few seconds before releasing him and having nothing betraying his thoughts. He just stood there, no emotion, no expression, and no sign of movement. The man just stood there until he gently leaned upward and released a sigh. Hagoromo, you damn fool. Who? The man turned to the boy and frowned. Your childhood was pretty shitty, kid. Naruto frowned. Yeah, not by choice. The man shook his head. No, mostly not. But you could have challenged the status quo in a different way or actively tried to improve. Instead you goofed off and did stupid things like D. It did help in some manner with your training and deception. It did nothing for the areas you needed improvement in, such as control and making moves of you. Naruto frowned. How much of his life? I saw everything, child. Everything. Did he? No, you're just easy to read, brat. He sighed, but it looks like the world has gotten weaker since my time, since there are almost no sign of practitioners of DAR. There is no balance to power. Hey Goromo, you damn fool, you messed up everything for what? Your stupid little idea of helping everyone. The man just his hand, fucking idiot. Okay, can you tell me what you're talking about? The man turned to Naruto and smiled. Kid, what if I told you of a time where there was two forms of chakra? One that was called light chakra and the other is called dark chakra? What if I told you? Both disciplines gained unimaginable power and can even extend their lives to the point of near immortality. Naruto frowned. I ask what the catch is. The man laughed. Good question, brat, and the right thing to ask. He smiled and held one of his fingers up, and soon chakra materialized on it and started to ebb and flow with formed letters. The price of dark chakra is that you have to let go. Let go of what? He formed a skull. Everything. He smiled. One that masters light chakra believes that one is only done by the righteous path, but let me ask you something, what is the right path? What the world should be? Naruto had a question mark above his head. Fate, I guess? Everyone seems to have some thought it does. The man shook his head. You're wrong. The truth is there is no right answer. He formed a skull and soon held his other hand out, and he saw fire form in it and take shape of the same world is that there is no such thing as the righteous path or the evil path. Good and evil. Yin and yang. Monsters and saints. They are all concepts. Concepts see. To justify its reasons and actions. They are just reasonings that one makes for themselves to justify everything they do in their life. For example, one that burns down a village, for example. Murders everyone in the village. All because their village leader says so. What do this make them? I don't know, a loyal soldier and someone helping to strive for the betterment of the world. Wrong. It is just someone justifying murdering another person. To kill people because you can and want to. No one can actually make someone else do some want to do, no matter what is done to them. The reality is, there is only one person you answer to. Yourself. Exactly. Sukuna put the two skulls together and soon the energies converge and soon create a beautiful skull that floats in his hands. While the two skulls with what Naruto guessed was light and dark chakra were just made in chakra form, this was an actual skull. Once you fully grasp this, one can truly find there both light and dark chakra. One can attain a level of power that is viewed as godly. You attained such a feat. The man nodded and let the skull fall into his hands so he could examine it. It wasn't easy, if that is what you're asking. It took a long time for me to come to these terms, but in the end I managed to complete this goal without too much. Know how to do the process and become in tune with it, the rest becomes so much simpler. The man tossed the skull, but back to the main issue, you were expecting to die when thrown into this box, right? Naruto nodded his head. Well then you should have, but when I sensed your chakra and could feel the energy inside of you, I knew right away you're different, so I brought you to me especially since I know for a fact that you are an Uzumaki. What does that got to do with anything? He smiled. I'll tell you in time. Asshole. Thank you. He turned to Naruto and smiled. The truth is, when I sensed your presence and your chakra and that, he pointed to his stomach, I knew that opportunity for the both of us. How so? Simple, you want to gain power out of this world and have a teacher that really teaches you and puts their faith in you, right? Naruto nodded his head slowly. You also want to know more about actual chakra, not the shit that they are teaching you that is half-ass, although the Raise-Non is probably the most innovative. No, considering it is the greatest byproduct of pure light chakra. He smiled, but you don't know the potential that you have with dark chakra due to No, I don't. Then you also don't know about the potential you have in front of you. So you're offering to teach me? Yes. The man smiled, walking up to him and putting his hand on his shoulder. You're a tortured soul, someone that has lost faith in humanity and wants to about Naruto rather than Konoha. He then walked around him and hovered near his ear. I mean, that's been your whole life and look where it got you. Naruto clenched his fist. Yeah, but what do you want out of this? Obviously you don't want to stay in this box, but there is no way out like you said, and that it is feeding on your chakra. The man nodded his head. True. But at the end of the day, there is a way out thanks to that. Naruto saw his finger was pointed at his seal and he frowned. How is the Kyuubi going to help us? All he has done is scream at me and taunt me for being so fucking stupid and how my parents were fools. The man just sighed. Kid, what I'm wanting is to take the fox's place. How would you do that? He smiled before clapping both of Naruto's shoulders from behind. Simple, all I have to do is force myself into the seal while banishing the Kyuubi. You make it sound so simple. The Shinigami was needed to dash. Yeah, I know that process. He came from around Naruto while picking his ear with one of his fingers. The Shinigami is the only one that can release and see. Blah, the man sighed. Everyone always says that, but it is not true. He pivoted on his foot, turning 180. There is another way. I can release the Baiju UNSE. Other world. Releasing it to be with the other half of its chakra. But in exchange we need something to take its place. Naruto nodded. You. The man smiled. You catch on quick. He clapped his hands. Yes, I would be the replacement. The good news is due to my chakra and power it would work. I might not be as. But my power is more than enough to have the seal recognize me as your prisoner. In exchange, the seal would just absorb me into you over time. Naruto nodded his head, but then his eyes widened. But why would you agree to a process in which you would just eventually die after a period of time? There is no guarantee you'll get an afterlife if that is the sea. Kid, the afterlife is for those that care. I honestly don't. Anything beats this. He waved his hand around. I've seen the same shit for more than 200 years, would take this chance now that I have it, no matter the risk. Naruto thought about it. It did make sense. Why wouldn't he take the risk? If it was this or continuation FO this world, he would do the same. Okay, so let's say I agree to this, how are we going to escape? The man smirked. Simple, with you now as much host, the box won't be powered by my chakra anymore, and this will allow me to break us out. But probably run into a wall of have to get your body dirty. Naruto shook his head. Do whatever you want, this place means nothing to me, the guards are pricks, the warden is an asshole, and the prisoners are just going to get what is coming. Ah, I see, so killing them won't bother you. Naruto sighed. At this point, what is the fucking risk? Do what you want, but I better remain dominant in this relationship, and you better not try and fuck with me, as I will sell. The man laughed. I knew I would like you, kid. Okay, I can agree to that, but under two conditions. He held up one of his fingers. One, I can take control of your body when they can use your body if you're in a situation you can't handle, but I won't harm any allies you make in the future. Deal? Naruto nodded. Well then, let's get started. I, the Dark Sage Sukuna, ruler of the dark arts, shall now grant you power out of this world, and soon you and I shall make the name for all eternity. Naruto saw him covered in a dark aura, and then he saw nothing but darkness. Flashback ends. Naruto sighed. The tattoos on his body started rescinding, and Naruto could only look up at the sky in boredom. So this is what it is like to massacre a large group of people. Naruto looked at the slaughter. Don't really feel anything, if I'm being honest. Of course not, after all I did all the work, and at the same time, none of this will mean anything to you thanks to the fact you didn't care for place. Naruto nodded and stretched his hands over his head and groaned. Well, no doubt people are going to hear about this, so probably should hoof it somewhere else, I guess. Any suggestions? How the fuck should I know? I haven't seen the outside world in ages. Back then it used to be clan against clan, nothing like this world. Even W. A map from your memory? I don't know. Okay, sorry, I asked. Naruto sighed. Maybe I should go to Wave or something, might be a nice change of scenery and it would give us the privacy we need to. That is the country you helped end a tyrant, right? Should work as long as we don't run into any of your former colleagues, right? If we do, then you can deal with them. Don't get cocky, brat, your body is still your body. I can't use it as well as my original, meaning we can still be beaten by superior and more opponents. But if worse comes, I'll break out my more powerful moves, but those will definitely draw attention since they tend to leave their landscape. Naruto nodded and started on foot. He had a long road ahead of him, who knows what he will run into while on his way to Wave. Konoha. Jiraiya was furious. No, that is putting it mildly. He was beyond that, he can't even think of the word that it would encompass. He was so mad he didn't even bother to peek on the hot springs when he heard rumors that the hottest women were going to be there. He didn't even bother for his new book. Why was he like this? One reason, Naruto. Apparently word got back to him when he came back to the village that he was gone. Where he didn't know and no one was telling him shit. But he got word that Tsunade had signed off on him having his chakra sealed and sent away to prison for his actions against the Uchiha. Jiraiya heard him call his mother a whore and his father a piece of shit. Jiraiya cave in his mouth, knocking out all of his teeth and blood dripping from his nook. Stomping through the village, everyone gave him a wide berth in fear of what he was going to do. After getting into the tower, he walked past Shizun and without hesitation kicked open the door. Jiraiya the kabuki white-hair ninja glared at Tsunade, who was sitting behind her desk. Most would describe the woman as beautiful with her monster-sized breasts, her youthful appearance, the blue diamond on her forehead, and her shapely figure. Complimented her. While normally he would make a lewd comment, he was not in the mood, and Tsunade had never seen her teammate this angry before. Jiraiya, what the hell is this about? You do owe me a new door. Jiraiya walked up to the desk and quickly threw it with one hand across the room. I'm in no mood, Tsunade. Tell me, give me one good fucking reason why you did what you did and I might just understand, but if you give me some kind of bulletin, name of my students and his wife, I will kill you here and now for treason. What are you talking about, Jiraiya? She looked on in shock and annoyance, but seeing his anger she knew that he was not in one of his happy moods. In fact, side of him in the later years, but now, she knew she was not messing with Jiraiya the sage who does his dance, she was messing with one that is the strong's. The most dangerous for a reason. Why did you banish Naruto? Banish? What the fuck are you talking about? The brat should be on a mission right now with his team. I mean, yes, Sakura is still keeping an eye on Sasuke, hanging around the village, but the council assigned him a long-term mission with some Chunin. Are you stupid? He reached into his pocket and slammed a document in her face. How do you fucking explain this? The whole village knows about it. Tsunade looked at the document and her eyes widened. I didn't sign this. Bullshit, it has your signature and stamp on it. Jiraiya, I didn't do this. I wouldn't. I just got done telling Naruto a few months ago how proud I was for him bringing back that traitor. Yeah, well, the village seems to be in the mood recently and I don't know about this bullshit mission you're talking about, but who was on that mission with him? She went through the documents scattered on the floor and found it. It is some Chunin set dash. Jiraiya snatched it and read it before growling. Were you drunk? Huh. Tsunade, this is fake. He showed her. I know every person in this village and the 3 names on this list aren't actually Chunin. But, Tsunade fell into her chair and her mind went out for 100 miles a minute. I was busy healing everyone that I didn't have the time to really talk to Naruto. But then he stopped appearing in the village, but I was told that he was on AL. And was given this form. I mean, we were swamped with things going on due to the recent attack and damages and the new contracts and allies that I didn't Really read too much into it? I haven't been leaving this tower in months, it feels like. Looking at the other document Jiraiya showed her, and she frowned. Jiraiya, I swear on the name of my family, I didn't sign this. Someone else had to forge it. I mean, I was so busy healing people through the hospital, dealing other matters, that I left most of the stuff to the council. Jiraiya groaned in frustration. The council? Tsunade, they have been out for Naruto for years. The only reason they never could get to him was thanks to Sensei and thanks to the elders. Like the boy personally and have their own beliefs of him, they still see his value and try to protect him from the more radical groups. Even Danzo. Tsunade slumped in her chair. So, that explains why they were so eager to take over and help with some of the paperwork and even assign missions for Naruto. Jiraiya frowned but soon saw tears running down her face. He saw real emotion out of her and part of him could sense it. She genuinely didn't know and never signed the document. But then how did they get the Hokage stamp and forged her signature? Oh my god, Tsunade jumped to her feet. Where is Naruto? We have to find him. Tsunade, stop. Jiraiya pushed her into a chair. If you go around announcing what happened, all this is going to do is start a panic in the village. The civilians Naruto's friends might start finding out about his personal friend, and you know how the elders will react. They might even use this a reason to have you afford that. But we can't just sit here. Jiraiya nodded. Yes, which is why we need to think. We need to find out how they got your signature and stamp. Do you know where the stamp is? Tsunade frowned and rummaged through the desk and found it. Here. He frowned. Was it sealed? Tsunade sighed. No, I hadn't had the chance to do so after the mess that was started thanks to the Uchiha brat. I see, then while you were busy helping and healing, someone must have snuck in here and stole the stamp, and after they used it, returned it. Okay, but what about my signature? He sighed. Good forgery? If it was shown to Naruto, he probably didn't even know the forgery and probably took it at face value. Tsunade sighed. Sounds about right. Both Sunan fell to the floor and all Tsunade could do is cry. How is it I screw up with the people that are supposed to be important to me, Jiraiya? No, it is true. There is nothing now. Naruto is gone, banished, and who knows where, and I don't know who in this village I can trust anymore. She cried. What to do? Jiraiya hugged her and patted her back. He's alive. The Toads confirmed that since his name hasn't faded from the contract. I know this for certain. Then we can still find him. Jiraiya nodded but glared. But first we have some stuff to do before we can find him. Tsunade wiped her eyes and glared. Yeah, bring me the elders for a private meeting. It is time to fix Konoha, starting with them and the fucking council. Jiraiya smiled. Sure thing, Haim. Also, take a look at the Uchiha brat seal. I want to make sure that Orochimaru can't influence him if we can avoid it. Sure, I'll do that once we have this matter resolved. Tsunade nodded and sighed. Naruto, I hope you can forgive this foolish woman for being so stupid and blind. Naruto had managed to make a long trek across the land. After leaving Kusa, he continued traveling on foot through the many different nations in between. Patrols of ninjas, and avoided drawing attention to himself. He knew that in time that the Leaf would come looking for him when word got around about the destroyed prison. If that was the case, he was sure that Jiraiya looking for him and throw him into another cell to keep him from becoming a threat due to his hidden power. But in reality he had no interest in dealing with people from his old home and viewed it more of an annoyance. He knew that even with his newfound power he could win against someone with more experience and talent than him, so he needed more time to train his newfound powers and learn some new skills. Sukuna on the trip had taught him a different form of chakra control to improve his overall performance and make his power less draining or overwhelming. His training method required him to flow his chakra into different parts of his body. It focused on shaping it around his limbs and even creating images and symbol fingers and then focusing through one finger and becoming more complex. Naruto hadn't managed anything that Sukuna could do with his chakra, but he was getting better to the point that he can make more than 10 letters in a row. Momentum. From this, Naruto managed to improve overall his control to the point that he could consider his control enough to rank among Chunin, but he was not confident can win against them yet. But he felt like he was improving. Naruto arrived in Wave and yawned. Man, that trip sucked, but good to be back among familiar people in a familiar location. Indeed, it is good that we are back, but I have to ask, what are your goals for being here? Well, I figured we can try to scare up some time to train, that way I can get my body up to par with what is needed for some of your techniques, while we also studies into dark chakra and light chakra. That is interesting, but I think we should work on mastering your light first, as right now you already have that down to a point, and that transition through this period easier. Plus with dark chakra there is the chance you might lose yourself to it, so it is better to hold off until we are training. Okay, also I thought about visiting Inari and see how he is doing and letting the family know what happened. Might as well, I mean it is likely they might inko Konoha soon, and it is better to be ready. That and having a place to lay our heads would be good as well. Yeah, that too. Naruto started his way to the bridge and saw a plaque at the end of the bridge and read it. The Great Naruto Bridge. Named after our savior who freed us from oppression and showed us the way to prosper once more. It would seem your impact here was greater than expected. Naruto sighed. Yeah, I guess it was. Naruto continued to walk through the village, and it was so different than when they were here the first time. The marketplace was overflowing with people, trades were going on, people were talking peacefully to one another, children were playing in the streets were just enjoying life. The atmosphere was so much happier than it ever was when they were under Gato. It was almost like they were forgetting the past. Almost. Naruto walked through more of the market and was just admiring the different kinds of stalls and the different kinds of trinkets that there were here and there. Any money, so buying anything was out of the question, but he could at least admire some of the craftsmanship of some of the weapons, clothes, and even the was being sold. Naruto could only smile at the sight, but soon felt something hitting his back and turned around. At his waist was a small bow with a hat on his head. He had black hair and black eyes, and he was hugging his waist tightly. Big brother Naruto. Naruto smiled. Inari. Getting free, he turned around and hugged the child, and he was just as excited to see him as he thought. He was hugging his neck tightly, and Naruto see close, feeling the warmth coming from this hug. Next he saw a woman with black hair and black eyes running around and then gasping. Naruto, is that you? Hey Tsunami, how are you? The woman smiled and quickly hugged the child close while holding his head to her chest, leaving a small kiss on her head. Nice to see you again, Naruto. How are you doing, and why are you shirtless? Naruto laughed. It is a bit of a story, I don't want to talk about it here though. Tsunami saw the hurt in his eyes and the feeling of anxiety welling up inside of the boy and quickly nodded her head while turning on her heels. Come on, father should be home from managing some stuff at the port, so we can talk back at the house, and he should be excited to see you too. Naruto smiled and followed the two back to her house. Not much had changed by the looks of it, but it was still a very warm environment, to the point that even Sukuna said it was what home is meant to be. Welcome. Nothing more, nothing less. After settling in, Naruto was given one of Tsunami's husband's shirts to help cover himself. Naruto thanked her and settled in, and wondering how they were going to react. I mean, he was about to tell them the same village he fought valiantly, the SA trade deal with, that same village betrayed him and sent him to prison on trumped up charges, and even marked him as a traitor, even though his teammate, the one that ran out of the village. How would they react? Naruto wasn't sure, but he was sure that no matter what, he would never hold this back on anyone if they didn't believe him. I mean, he did this to himself, and village for everyone to hear, and now it was coming back to bite him on the ass. Relax, brat, people change, things change, nothing ever stays the same forever, trust me, I would know. You stayed the same person that you once were in that box for all this time. Humph, touche, brat. Naruto soon saw an old man walking into the house and he smiled. Hey brat, good to see you. Naruto laughed. Yeah, good to see you too. I hope you don't mind me being here. Not at all, brat, we owe you big for everything you have done, but where's your team? I mean, did they just send you? Now that I think about it, where is the he? Love so much. Naruto frowned and clenched his fists and sighed. Inari, Tsunami, you guys might want to come in here as I don't want to repeat this. The two nodded and joined him and Tajuna in the living room. There he recounted his story from the time of the exams, to when he stopped Sasuke from running, and even mentioning the point where he was sent to Priso. He didn't tell them about Sukuna in fear of how they would react, but he felt it was for best to leave it to the need-to-know people. Inari was crying, how could they? Naruto was his hero, he was his brother figure. He was like his father, he was brave and courageous. He was a man that was willing to fight against those that, without any fear of his own life. He thought Konoha was like that too, and that they were heroes. But hearing about his treatment at the hands of the village, Inari wasn't sure he could see the village in the same way anymore. In his eyes, he realized that saved him and his family, it was Naruto. He was the one that saved them, he was the one that inspired them, and he was the one that stood with them, rallied the people. In his mind, Naruto was the real hero of Wave, and the Leaf just took advantage of him like Gato did to them. He was furious. Tsunami was heartbroken, a boy only a few years older than her son, he was treated so terribly. He was done dirty in a way she can't describe. She couldn't age. And suffering, it was all too much for her. When he talked about his time in prison, he didn't say it, but she could see him shake slightly. That was something she saw in those that were raped. Those that were beaten and mistreated. She knew for a fact, Naruto had suffered sexual violence while in prison and no one saved him. This horrified her to know that he lost any ounce of innocence due to the village seeing him as a monster and wanting him sent away. She just can't fathom how he survived. Tajuna, on the other hand? He put his bottle on the table, he just didn't feel like drinking. He felt like vomiting, the hypocrisy wasn't lost on him. Originally the team was going to abandon him and leave him to the wolves. It was Naruto that motivated them to actually continue on the job and try to prot. Though he did lie about the mission and didn't have the money to offer them at the time that was appropriate. He knew that the boy probably did it for his pride, but he also knew he wasn't going to abandon him or this mission. Tajuna then saw how he came to their home, and after seeing him, he noticed the stark difference between him when he was in Wave to now. He was more sharper, and he was more closed off. He wasn't sure why, but he knew something happened and he didn't want to look into it or talk about it. But from the face and the stories he heard about prison, he got a pretty good idea of what happened. If he could, he hang everyone that was at that prison for daring to harm an innocent boy. But that raised the biggest question, why was he here? Naruto, turning his head to the old man, why are you in Wave? Dad. He has nowhere to go. You're acting like we should just throw him out or let his village know about his location. Inari glared, no way, those assholes did this to him and you want to do him like they did. No way, Grandpa, I won't allow it. Tajuna waved his hands. Wait, hold on, that's not what I'm saying. He coughed, what I meant was there any reason in particular you came to Wave? I have problem him being as long as necessary. But I just wanted to know if there is some kind of secret objective he is looking to accomplish. Naruto sighed. Honestly, this is one of the few places I could get to without trouble, and I felt it was safer here than anywhere else. Word would spread in other nations quick. Appearance, and I can't afford that. I need time, to train, to recover, and to evolve. He held out his right hand and clenched it. I was too prideful, I thought I whirled just with the confidence that I could. But I was a fool, I suffered for my pride. He rubbed the scar on his chest, it almost cost me my life. I was lucky inches, but that won't happen again, and I can't bet on luck that it will happen again. Naruto sighed, so, I needed somewhere quiet and peaceful that would all without interference and allow me to grow my skills to the level that they need to be. Tajuna nodded his head and smiled. Well then, it is no trouble to me that you stay with us. After what the Leaf did, as soon as we pay what we owe, we will terminate our trade agreement with T. We have alliances coming in from other minor nations and even the Land of Iron. Soon we won't need the Land of Fire's protection when we have other nation our aid and fight for us. Tsunami nodded. Plus we have some of those people from that other continent living here now. They offered to help protect us if something was to happen. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Other continent? Tajuna, Tsunami, what do you mean other continent? As far as I knew there was only the elemental nations. No one has ever mentioned other continents out T. Tajuna nodded and took a swig of his drink. You would be right, but I heard an interesting rumor floating around a few years ago. Apparently there is another continent about 3-month sail away from here. Supposedly a nation similar to ours, but they are in the midst of a giant war that broke out between one nation against the other nations. Lately more and more nations have moved into wave and settled down in our little nation. Most of them are ex-warriors or people that did use weapons or other tactics and are place to sleep. They have become shopkeepers, traders, and warriors for our village to help safeguard us from bandits and invaders. Naruto was amazed. There were people powerful like that outside the elemental nations. What can they do? Tajuna laughed. One of them could control fire without doing those fancy hand movements that you ninja use. Really? Naruto raised an eyebrow. That is impressive. How easier would his life be without having to use hand signs to create jutsus? In my time I created techniques with either a single hand sign or no hand sign at all. In time you can learn to do something like that as well. Nations without hand sign users is intriguing to me. I think it would help if we look into some of these people and learn more of this new land. New beginning if we ever need it. Naruto nodded his head. Agreed, but for now we should get to work on training. So, I'll excuse myself and we can go see my friends and then begin. Very well, but I want to meet these fighters soon. Naruto got off the couch. Well, thank you all for the hospitality, but I would like to get some training before the sun goes down. Alright, but please be back before sundown, Naruto. Naruto smiled at Tsunami. Understood. Naruto left the house and sighed. That's a mother's care, huh? Interesting for sure. Naruto proceeded to walk away from the village and further out into the outskirts. There he found the spot he was looking for, but what was going on there, ma? In the opening was the grave marked with a white mask with lines on it, and another grave that was marked with a big sword that was buried with the blade in. However, there was someone there with a group of men. They were trying to remove the blade from the ground and struggling to accomplish this goal. Sukuna, I need to kill these men. Calm down, brat, killing them will prove pointless if we don't know who they are. We should at least try to capture one of them alive so we see a. They were trying to steal the sword. Fine, but you do it. I don't think I'm strong enough to handle all of them still. Right, better safe than sorry, see you're learning. Naruto closed his eyes and the markings appeared on his body again before they opened and showed red eyes staring on blankly. Walking up he shouted. Hey bastards, I would step away from the sword. His voice was deep and regal, making the men by the sword turn. Most of them were terrified at first at the person, they just laughed and scoffed. The one with the sword smirked arrogantly. Hey brat, why don't you go piss off before I take this sword and cleave you in half? Don't know you who I am? A deadbeat. No, I'm the legendary bandit known as Gozo, I'm the man that slayed the might Zabuza Mamakai, and this blade is mine by conquest. Yeah, you tell him, boss. No one should stand against a man that defeated the demon of the mist. Fool will get killed for sure. All Sukuna could do at this point was release a small chuckle before breaking out into full laughter. He was laughing so hard tears were rolling down his cheeks and he couldn't help but feel elated. You dumbass, I know one thing for certain. A dark ominous aura started to form around Sukuna, his body was starting to glow with dark power, and all they could make out was his red eyes staring straight. Sadistic grin plastered on his face. You've signed your death warrant with that comment. Putting his hand up in a half prayer he smiled. All of you can enjoy the afterlife. The men were frozen by the aura, but they screamed in fear and tried to run only to find their bodies falling to pieces. An explosion of gore raged out and soon the man trying to pull the sword screamed and ran, forgetting the blade in the process. Sukuna sighed. Well, that was pointless, so he was just your garden variety of a thief. He looked at the blood and with 2 fingers swiped through the air in a sideways move. The blood soon was pulled off the grass and floating in the air. The blood converged on one point, forming a giant ball of blood floating in mid-air. Sukuna stared at the ball and with a snap of the 2 fingers, the ball vanished. All clean and ready for our lesson. The tattoos vanished on Naruto's body before his eyes turned blue. Geez, that never gets easier. Naruto held his head and could feel the ringing sensation going through his mind, and just trying to center his balance was provi. You grow used to it the more we do it. But for now, without dark chakra you will not respond well to the swap. Okay, so now we begin training, and what about that guy that ran? Shouldn't we go and find him? Sukuna shrugged. It'd be pointless, he didn't know who we were, and honestly that fool was probably a coward to begin with and won't dare show his face to other nations are probably looking for him if he has been bragging about the sword for a long time. Personally, it would be more trouble and pursue him. Naruto shrugged. Now then, we have begun your training in light chakra while we were on the road, but now we need to work on drawing out more of it. So focus on your chakra control that we talked about before and start trying to bring out more each time. Naruto groaned. Got it? Naruto got to work on making more letters with his chakra and just went along with this training method in the hopes of soon mastering his control to finally attack and defense techniques. The bandit that was running had fled far into the wilderness and just sighed before slamming his fist into a tree. Damn brat, I the mighty Gozo forced to flee as if I was a minor bandit. How annoying, he rubbed his face, smudging up more of the dirt and grime on his face. My underlings are dead, meaning I will have to start over from dash. He heard a crunch and quickly hid behind a tree. Straight ahead was a man with black hair walking through the forest without a care in the world. He saw the man was dressed in some fancy black clothes with a cloak around his neck to try and hide his appearance. He couldn't be sure, but he swore the pointy, but he thinks it is a trick of the angle he was looking at him from. Plus this guy is rich by the looks of it. Meaning all I got to do is grab him and demand a ransom, and then I the great Gozo can rebuild my group and start on becoming a famous warlord in the far future. I'll have nothing but sexy women all around me. He smiled and slowly walked up to the black hair man who was just walking aimlessly forward and just ignoring his surrounding. The bandit slowly crept on him, closer and closer he was getting. Gozo saw him stop, sigh, and turn to him. Gozo saw the emptiness of his eyes, his black eyes just bore into him, and all he could do is shiver. You should run, all that awaits you is death. Gozo growled. You are the second fucker today that has told the mighty Gozo to run. I won't let another brat treat me like this. The man sighed. Fine, but I did warn you. Gozo lunged at the man, reaching for his collar and aiming his knife at his neck to hopefully restrain him. He coughed up blood. His body was feeling limp or services, and all he could do is feel a cold sensation looking down. All he could see is a dark thing punching a hole through his stomach. He tried reaching to the thing but it just pushed further into his stomach. More blood before going limp. The being disappeared in an instant and the man could only sigh. 16 years old and I already have a body count of at least 400, how sad. He smiled at the sky, God please, grant me my release, let someone come to K. The man walked away from the body and all that was left of the man's presence was a swarm of flies that flew onto his body and started to slowly drain it and eat it. Naruto had spent at least 3 months in wave. Nothing but training on his mind, spending time with Tajuna's family, and admiring the surrounding area and the changes Wave had gone through. Wave had exploded economically, but meeting some of the warriors who came from foreign lands was interesting to him too. Naruto discovered that one of them was able to move water as easy as tilting his wrist and even managed to create ice with just a simple clenching of his fist. That this is what he called bending, a technique that was practiced in their continent, but most water users had either fled the lands or were in hiding in 1TW. The South and North Pole as they call them, stating that it is the only safe place for them and at the same time, it was only the North Pole. When asked, he drew reason and asked him not to expect elaboration and Naruto shrugged, everyone had their reasons. Spending a week with the water bender, he learned that there were others that could manipulate the earth, fire, and even wind. He was interested in bending, as it seemed like they were using a different form of chakra, but he was not sure what. His theory is that possibly that humanity had the ability to use these same powers ages ago, but each continent developed them differently. In the case of the was developed in a way through chakra and using all internal energy to fight, while bending was more about spiritual alignment and mastering movement while of combat. But hearing that some are born without bending and that it is rare for someone to even have the bending skills outside of their main element is unheard of. Exc. That they referenced as the avatar who was said to be in tune with the spirits and that they can use all 4 elements. The last one disappeared over 100 years ago and stated to be still gone and expected to be dead since all air users were wiped out by the Fire Nation. Sukuna scoffed and said it sounded like there was more to the story, but it was clear that the history would not be told by those that were wiped out or those history is written by the victors and life remembers the victors as they are portrayed. Naruto didn't fully grasp this at first, but he did understand after looking at the history of the elemental nations and the situation with his old village and how be heroes and godlike people. He quickly realized that humanity is seemingly capable of great evil and corruption even with the most honest intentions, and he had no issue dealing with his way. But he still wasn't sure what his alignment is. Dark chakra is corrupting, as Sukuna drilled into his head. So if this is true, that means it be like using the Kyuubi's power again, but this time it be his own and it could drive him mad or even change him. The last thing hurt the people around him, but Sukuna informed him that he would stop him if that happened. However, he knew Sukuna wouldn't stop it forever, so he had to make sure he is ready for when it does come and he is on his own again. Studies in light chakra, however, were progressing. He found that learning the chakra control exercises easier and that he was starting to find his own groove, starting to flourish under his teachings. Sukuna explained to him that light chakra is always easier to master, as this is the one that most people are exposed to the most, while dark is harder to master. Then not twists people and their minds. Naruto understood, and thanks to Sukuna not only was his control better, but he even started progressing on his elemental studies. He studied fire and wind first. Sukuna stated those are probably the most flexible elements that they can study, as earth is rare and harder to master without while water and lighting are more chaotic and dangerous if not controlled properly. So using fire while alone, he only risks hurting himself or burning down a tree. More about cutting and dicing people. During this time he learned to call on the flames without doing hand signs, but it takes more concentration, but with one hand sign he can breath out the flame. Can spread into wider ranges. Wind on the other hand was a different matter and something he was having difficulty mastering. That was until he met someone who was a master of manipulating the air. Flashback. A man dressed up as a monk in an orange robe and red sash stood there with a smile on his face. Your control of the wind is abysmal. I know. The man laughed before he did a small movement with his hand and formed a ball of air in his hand. You know, you're trying to control something that can't be controlled. Nothing can dictate the wind, nothing can stop the air, and nothing can make it bend or be water, but wind can't be contained in anything. Even the greatest techniques can't completely suppress the power of the wind. Naruto sighed and turned to the monk. Then what do you suggest? How should I look at this? He smiled, and with a swipe of his hand the ball of wind left his hand and slammed through a tree, leaving a good size hole. You must learn to let go of the need of control. Naruto frowned. I don't get it. He smiled. You will, come and see me when you figure it out. The man began walking off and Naruto just rubbed his eyes. That was no fucking help. Sukuna told me the same thing, but this is just so confusing. Naruto collapsed to the ground and looked up at the sky that was starting to change from blue to orange to match the setting sun. He felt the cool breeze on edge. That it had the smell of the sea in it. You can't control the wind? I guess it makes sense, I mean the scent of the sea is carried on the wave of the Wi. Naruto sat up and his eyes widened. How stupid, why didn't I think of that before? He stood to his feet, taking a deep breath. He then focused on wind release with his hand in a ram sign. The wind soon started moving around the tip of his fingers, before he raised up his fingers and slashed it at the tree. The wind dashed to the tree and it cut through just enough to make it fall over. I did it. Naruto ran off from the training field and planned to go and talk to the monk, as he owed him for helping him see what he was missing. Flashback. Naruto, after thanking the monk, he started studying more diligently on his manipulation skills and learning that sometimes he needs to relax and take breaks to help clear up his mind. If something isn't working, then you have to step back and come back to it later. After all this training, Naruto was confident that if he fought Sasuke again with his curse mark in pure ninjutsu, he could win and prove his strength against him. Kuwabai Chakra. However, the problem now was training in hand-to-hand, and while Sukuna gave some tips, he didn't have a good sparring partner outside the benders. They didn't want to get involved for fear of being found out by potential spies and enemies and just wanting quiet lives. Naruto decided then to find someone in the village that was a better fighter than him, and it turned out to be this young woman that was about her 20s and tied in a braid going down her back. She had a smile on her face when he asked for her help, hearing she was good in hand-to-hand and some weapons. The woman was going to charge him, but hearing that he was the hero of this nation and just wanting to better himself to protect himself and those that he is, reluctantly agreed, but did ask that he pay for his lessons when he gets the money. Naruto agreed and soon started his taijutsu training. He learned the woman specialized in a fighting style that focused on specific points of the body and can leave someone immobilized no matter how much musk bypass. Naruto was curious and asked her the origin of the fighting style. It was designed to take down benders. Since they are troublesome to deal with, this style focuses on the point of the body that would allow them the most FLE in a fight. But at the same time, they even took it a step forward and found ways to remove people's ability to move and fight and even talk. If one is talented, even stop someone's heart or their brain from processing information. Naruto had come quickly to learn this after she flattened him quite a few times in their sessions. When not working on his elements, he was sparring and learning this new style and how to make it his own, as he wasn't sure he can fight like her. She stated that others have found ways to use the style against benders in different formats. He just had to figure out how he can use it. Naruto did for the most part, still using 2 fingers to hit someone's nerves and the points on the body that produce both chi and chakra. But he still hadn't mastered enough to deal with his teacher without eating dirt for it. Ultimately, his training was proving fruitful. On the 6th month, that is when something happened. A new crisis emerged in Wave. Naruto was sitting at home with Tajuna's family and he came in sighing. What happened, Tajuna? Bandits, they are becoming a problem again. Naruto frowned. Have you put in a request for help? He nodded his head but growled. Some of the nations are demanding better trade deals and us to cut out other traders and give up people of prominence in order to ascertain their help. I turned me away stating they wouldn't come to our aid. Naruto frowned. Is this a big bandit threat? Yes. Some of the scouts have reported at least 200 of them, and while I'm confident worried. Naruto figured that be the case. Missing nin can run the gambit of being just minor threats that no one takes seriously to those that can be a legit threat to nations if left alone long enough. He only knew about 3, 4 if counting Sasuke. Itachi Uchiha, the older brother of Sasuke and the man that came after him with Kisame Hoshigaki. The Mo. Jiraiya called him. Finally he knew of Orochimaru, the snake that attacked Konoha and murdered the third out of pure spite. Naruto wanted to kill him more than anyone but Suku. He will. Naruto pulled his thoughts away. Any reports on who the missing nin is? He nodded his head. Yeah, some guy from a minor village. They say he can use some kind of earth style of ninja arts and has killed 2 Chunin ninja from Kumo and 1 from Iwa. Naruto sighed. So the guy is at least as strong as a Chunin if not a Jounin. Thoughts? If it comes down to it, we can handle someone like that. The bandits are the issue. That many gathered together under one banner? It makes what he is promising them and what their united goal is. True, who knows what they are aiming after? It doesn't matter in the end. They are coming for wave, and if they take this country it will just be a repeat of that Gato figure all over again. Naruto sighed. Yeah, not doing that again. From here, Naruto stood up. Well, the best thing we can do is try to deal with the problem before it reaches the bridge. Do you know where they are? Tajuna frowned. Naruto, look, you're training hard and I don't doubt your strength, but Tajuna, I won't be fighting alone. Huh? Naruto smiled. Trust me. 2 hours later. Naruto made it past the bridge and was heading south. He was told that is where their encampment was. He knew that if he could take out a few without them getting close that would be good, but he needed something to even the odds, and it hit him: summons. Naruto had signed the Toad contract and he was still on the contract last he checked. So that meant he could deal with this matter with their help, but then they had Jiraiya as their summoner and he was loyal to the Leaf. He didn't want to go back. He never wanted to go back to the Leaf after everything, but he knew that he couldn't fight this battle alone. If he did summon them, he has to find a way to keep them from contacting the old man. Naruto sighed and quickly went through the hand signs and slammed it on the ground, and a small puff appeared. Out of it came an orange toad. He is wearing a blue haori on his back with the title of Oil written. Naruto. Hey Gamekaki. He smiled at the toad, who quickly jumped onto his shoulder and smacked him on the head. You're alive. Pa said you were, but everyone in the clan is worried. We heard from Jiraiya you disappeared, but I'm glad we know where you are. Naruto frowned. Gamekaki, listen, there is a favor I need to ask. Sure, anything. I don't want you telling Jiraiya where I am. Gamekaki frowned and jumped off his shoulder. Naruto, we can't do that. He is the head of the contract, meaning that we have to have some loyalty to him over you. Naruto growled. Yeah, well, that asshole hasn't done shit for me. After everything that happened, he didn't once bother come looking for me. Gamekaki frowned and he disappeared in a blur of smoke. Gamekaki. Damn it, now what? Looks like we are going to need a plan B. Yeah, well, plan B is us going in there with you in control and killing them all, but you told me. I know my dark chakra will have a corrosive effect if it is prolonged too long, and if the situation calls for it, it might even change you. Meaning we can't risk it? We don't know how powerful this guy is and how many of them there are, and if anyone new has joined since the last scouting. A plump of smoke appeared again and Naruto saw Gamekaki standing there with 2 more toads. An elderly green toad holding a staff with a beard going down his face, and a female elderly toad with purple and white coating and carrying a staff. Gamekaki, what the dash? Relax bro, I brought the elders to talk to you. I think it is best to tell them why you don't want anyone contacting you. The green one hopped over. My look at you, Naruto-chan, you look strikingly like the 4th. Naruto frowned. Never heard that before. He shook his head. Look, I don't have time to give my life story as I'm kinda in the middle of trying to save a village from being ATT. Unknown amount of enemies without Jiraiya finding out I'm here. Gamakaki mentioned that. The green toad frowned. Why is it you don't want him finding you or the leaf knowing where you are? Look dash. Naruto-chan, please. He smiled. I promise on the title of Elder of Toad Mountain I shall not speak a word of this to Jiraiya, but I need a reason that is sound. If toads will help in your attack on these bandits. Naruto frowned. It is going to need to be the short one. I don't know when they are moving and they'll be coming this way. The toad nodded. Please tell us quickly. Naruto then recited everything, his time in the leaf, his lack of training from Kakashi and Jiraiya, how he only learned one move from the latter after the sum of Sasuke, his banishment and imprisonment, and his ventures into the box and everything that happened in between. The toads were horrified. This young boy, no young man, he went through the worst horrors the world could possibly go through. He had seen the depravity of. He was willing to fight for those in need, not caring about his own well-being and wishing others to have a fruitful life. That was astounding to them and they couldn't help but admire this resolve. However, they were furious Jiraiya failed to really train the boy outside of the Raise-Non and the summoning skill. Even then, he didn't bother helping him refin. Needed to refine. They would be having words with him. But hearing what he went through and even the loss of the Kuwabai for something else, they knew there was more to the story, but he was tight-lipped about it. Some understood, given he had seen their loyalty was to Jiraiya and not to him. But hearing this they realized he was just trying to live his life without someone over. So, against tradition, the elders nodded. Naruto-chan, rest assured we shall not tell Jiraiya of your location. We will forbid him from using us to track you, and we will make sure the leaf summons no action performed by Konoha. Naruto bowed his head. Thank you. Now then, the elder smiled, shall we discuss our strategy in attacking the nearby bandit camp? Naruto smiled, going over his thoughts and strategies. The toads agreed and reversed themselves to the mountain and summoned some of the larger but not T-side. They each had weapons and skills of their own and quickly proceeded to follow Naruto's instructions and head out to the forest. Naruto sighed and smiled at Gamakaki. Thanks, what would I do without you, buddy? The orange toad smiled and hopped on his shoulder. Something stupid. Naruto laughed. Yeah, you're right about that. Naruto proceeded into the forest and could hear one of the toads approaching. There he saw it motioning to the nearby open space and raised an eyebrow. What do you mean there is no movement? He croaked. Wait, you mean there is no one there? It nodded his head and he frowned. Okay, stay nearby, I'm going to check this out. Gamakaki, head home. I don't want you getting hurt, okay? The orange toad looked offended but sighed. Okay, but summon me when you safe. Naruto nodded and he vanished in a puff of smoke. Slowly, he approached the camp, careful not to disturb the shrubbery and not to alert the sentries if they were hiding. But the closer he got, the more he noticed that something was really wrong. Walking over to one of the tents, he about barfed when he saw one of the bandits inside. His inside were ripped out, he was dead there with his eyes plucked out. What the fuck? Naruto, there is a large amount of residual of dark chakra here, be careful, I think that it is still in the camp. Naruto nodded and slowly began trekking deeper into the center of the camp. There he saw nothing but bodies left and right. People strung up, bodies oblitera sprayed all over the ground, and even he swore he saw dark marks all over the place. As if something was just dragging itself across the ground, but he wasn't. Reaching the center, he saw that the main camp built around this bigger tent, but he saw it was torn to shreds and on fire while the rest of them nearby were Blood was smeared all over the ground and he made out some of them being the men leading the group that were described by what the fuck dash. Impressive, no? Naruto stood up straight and turned around, seeing a man emerging from one of the burning tents holding one of the bandits by his throat. He gave a small smile. Sorry, let me deal with this first. He gripped his hand tightly, snapping the man's neck. He dropped the body and walked slower to Naruto. He quickly took a stance. Who are you and why did you wipe out everyone here? He smiled. I'm no one. Just a man traveling the land for a solution to my problem. As for why I killed them all, they were simply in my way. Naruto frowned harder and could sense the dark chakra around him. It's so immense. It is like a dark cloud just suffocating everything around him. What the fuck is he? You never told me your name. Don't have one. Parents disowned me when I couldn't do that special thing like the rest of them, but I was taken in by a pale-skinned man who lost interest in me. Control me. Naruto frowned. Orochimaru. Yep, that's him, but now that I look at you, maybe you can grant me my desire. That would be. He held his hands out. Kill me, end my suffering.